which I will spend a couple of minutes explaining. It's very critical because the kind of workforce and the generation which we live in. So I'll quickly share my slides, and and then I'll start. Yeah. So just hold on, please. One sec. I just yeah. Wow. All right. So here I go. All right. Uh, Thank you very much. Workforce of the future, I feel, is a very critical part of from where we are today. I think, if we break down the work itself, right, what does it mean, right? Why are we discussing it? Because we live in an era where things are moving fast, and in the current situation, it's moving at a much more faster pace than I expected it to be, right? So let's define where we are, right? What is work? Work is nothing but an activity such as a job or where a person uses physical and mental effort to do things to attain money, right? It's a central part of human activity and critical to self realization and social cohesion to have people together. What does work do? Work basically enables us to achieve self-sufficiency. If you remember Maslow's theory, right, to some extent it addresses our basic needs, right, to some extent. And obviously we have the ability to then to support our families, contribute to the broader good of the society, right? uh, you know Through work people apply their various capacity to endeavor private or public issues, right? Now, work has both positive and the dark side. And dark side, I'm sure you're aware of slavery, gender discrimination, demeaning work, and etc. A lot of things. If you look at how work evolved, right, there are various phases. I think so. The first phase was in 1765 for 100 years, which was basically before that was the proto revolution, right, which was nothing but the industrial revolution. uh, Before this, in this first revolution was the emergence of mechanism. Basically, you'll have agriculture getting replaced by your steam engines, which came into play. So that's the direction which the world moved in. 100 years later, we moved into the second industrial revolution, right, which talked about new sources of energy, which was electric, gas, oil. Steel industry saw a growth. Chemical synthesis, you basically, if you remember, fabric dyes came into play. Mode of communication also came up. You had telegraph and telephone as the first stint which happened. Then we somehow moved to the third revolution about 100 years later further, which saw the rise of the nuclear energy, right? The rise of electronic transaction, your microprocessors, your telecommunication, right? So you saw a growth of three revolutions, and obviously today we are sitting in industry 4.0, which is nothing but your cloud, big data, IoT, and the it's moved from energy sapping to more renewable energy, more towards green, wind and other directions, right? That's quick story about history of work. I feel there are a couple of critical factors which affect your workplace. Basically, I call it as triple W. This is more termed by me. It's your workplace, and your workforce, right? If you realize the fact that the workforce now in the future which will be more older and more ethic. More racially diverse, because you have people who are cross pollinating between countries, different religions. So it's more diverse workforce which will come into play. Your life expectancy itself will go extensively in a very different directions, right? From a positive direction, men will live up to 74 and women about 77. You have a wide range of multi-generational workforce. The newest entrance is your Gen Z, which has just come into play. People who would have passed out last year or doing interning right now. So imagine managing workforce which has multi generations and a very different generation where all generations are very different from each other. You also will see a coming of free agents. Free agents are nothing but people from a gig angle who would come and discuss the kind of work they would be doing, and for a period of time. Imagine making policies for this kind of workforce. It will be so difficult. And the other point in this, the workforce is today we are pushed in a situation where the workforce is virtual, right? This will become more like a play in the future, right? You'll have more mobile workforce. As good an example, today you see a lot of positions which say, okay, software engineer for Pune. In due course of time, it will just say software engineer for India, right? Anywhere you have to get the work delivered. I see that moving in that direction. You have more companies moving into bring your own gadget, more flexibility, which will happen. You will have people who would stay for a longer career spans. You have a term which is called perennials, which is nothing but your older workforce which will continue to work for a longer period of time than expected. You will have slight bit of drain of knowledge workforce moving out, but then people will continue to work as consultants. There's also a concept called leaning out, which is nothing but a phased out retirement, where people who reach retirement age, which will be told that, hey, you don't work 8 hours, maybe you work next couple of years only 4 hours, right? So that you don't lose that that workforce so easily, right? Then obviously man versus machine. I think this is very interesting topics, and a lot of people have written white papers on this. I want to make it very simple. It will be an era where we would need to work with each other. Remember, the only difference between us and the machine is creativity, right? We are far more creative. We will be the ones who will be giving the recipe to the machines how to work, but then we should be in a situation where we know how to manage and work with them, right? While there are various theories to it, but this is my input towards the direction which we are. I see moving to cities. While the term sounds very simple, but the concept of mega cities. Right now there are about 29 mega cities. Which where about 10 million of the world population resides, with approximately about 12% of the world headcount. You will see increase in number of mega cities by 2035. You will see about 50 mega cities, which will be about 16% of the world population, which will come into play in that period of time, right? Also you will see movement from a developing to a developed nation, right? Let's take an example. I would want to give an example of Japan, right? If you look at, they have a huge problem of aging population. In due course of time, their immigration policy will be far more lenient, when they would need to have more younger population to come in to their own country. Reverse it to the situation where countries like Africa, who have about a working population over 57%, which will go up to about 67% in 2015. So imagine the pressure on the government infrastructure to making sure that they are employed. So you'll have people who would get out of these countries to move into other countries. Climate change, right? We are sitting in a situation where luckily the impact has got a little more pushed out, but then we are in a situation where this will play a huge part in the way we look at things. Gas masks and few other things will become a way of life if we don't look at alternative energies from a sustainability standpoint, right? You see a variant of gig economy, while in India it's still coming up, but then there would be a phase which we see people would want to work for a period of time, take time off, specialize in that area and get away, because people would want to work in a more flexible environment the way it is today, right? Quickly, if I would want to just run you through this slide, is there are multiple factors which influence the future, but there are key skills which are required for the future, and these are attainable skills, right? Your ability to solve problems, right? I feel that is very, very important, because if you're not in a position in future to solve problems. If you're stuck to a routine and a basic way of functioning, it'll be a challenge. Critical thinking is a very I feel this is a very important part. It's nothing but your ability to reason. It is about being active learner than being a passive one, right? Creativity, that's what I also referred to earlier, is your ability to look at things far more differently from a very different uh, angle. That's what differences us from machines. People management, imagine managing people who would be more virtual, who may not be present in the same country, but you would be managing them, understanding them, looking at them on the videos, seeing how would they react. That would itself be a key skill. You know, and we will slowly arise in an era where you might need to work with specialists in very different areas, right? And then get work delivered. Ability to influence will become a very critical part here, right? And obviously, EQ, right? There is enough written about emotional intelligence than I would want to speak about, right? This plays a very very important part of in the future. Uh, your ability to make judgment and decisions will also may play an important part. It will not be only looking at what's 70% correct, but then what's on a long-term perspective good from an organization perspective. How does it tie into your mission vision? Plays a very important part. More service oriented, the simple way of saying KYC will play a very, very important part, because you would need to understand and forecast and predict what your customer would want, right? Your ability to negotiate, work closely with folks, get things done will be very critical. Cognitive flexibility is another thing which I've been reading about. Is nothing but your ability to disengage from one task and respond to another, or basically think of doing multiple concept at the same time, right? That will play a very very important part. So these are some of the critical skills of the future, I feel will be very important for anybody. I just want to leave at the end with this law. If you look at the way things are moving, right? And now I'll have to draw a line in between, somewhere between the yellow and the blue, right? Which is the COVID line, because earlier, if you look at technology, it was moving at a faster pace as compared to organization. It is still moving, but obviously with the COVID situation, we have been pushed to adopt to technology. But this gap will continue to happen, and it will play a very very important part. The organization has to be in a position where they adopt what is relevant and discard what is not. But there are challenges where you have a lot of technologies which people are SMEs in one area, but the one tool doesn't talk to another one, right? So there are multiple aspects to it, but it's very critical that a lot of the gaps which we see today is technology moving faster than organization being adopting to it, right? So I thought maybe I'll quickly run you through what's playing on my mind. I feel very relevant the way things are. If you have any questions, we can run past it, and I will let me stop sharing my yeah.
Perfect. Thanks a lot for the presentation, Mr. Aditya. So I'll start picking up these questions one by one, whichever is being directed towards you.
Sure.
So one of the major questions is post-COVID scenario currently.
Yeah.
What would be the campus hiring strategy specifically for in your industry? What do you think is the new age hiring strategy for campuses?
See, quite a bit is assumption, right? I'm being very honest. So, we keep on talking about post-COVID, right? One question to everybody is, when is it going to be post-COVID, right? We've been in a situation where at least we have mass vaccination, or you have herd immunity, right? Where it bears out. But just to take an intelligent punt on the question which you've asked is, what companies will try and look at is one, and some of things which you might find basic is adoption to technology, right? As simple as that, do all your students have laptops? I'm being very basic here, but a lot of colleges don't. Do how close are they to understanding technology? How clued are they about the new technology which is coming into play? Internship will become more virtual in nature. I feel that's the way a lot of organization will try and look at. A lot of colleges, I know for a fact, or have 1 year internship and 6 months in engineering. Some private ones have. I think so. That's the direction a lot of companies would want, because they would want some pre-trained resources coming their way. If you look at pure play technology, they would also look at students who are very focused on the area they want to grow in. Right? If you look at, let's talk tech, right? To some extent, sorry, being a little biased towards tech because that's some area which I've worked upon. Uh, Look at plain vanilla, most of the company are sitting on Java as a technology, right? That's one area input to a lot of the colleges. How do we make sure that we push it slightly earlier in the curriculum, right? Because that's a preferential work which a lot of companies do work upon, right? So these are some of the basic things which I feel companies will come into play, but I feel virtual experience will come into play. My recommendation is also for all the students, maybe sometimes you may not get a paid internship, do a pro bono work, right? Do a pro bono work with an SME in that area. We're sitting in a LinkedIn uh, uh, you know world, right? You can speak to an SME and work with them indirectly, right? So look at getting experience. That's what most of the companies will look for in due course of time. And one more thing is, you look at the, a lot of large companies, they've given an input that they would want to hire more campus. I think so that's a very good sign with the direction a lot of the industry is moving. That's a positive sign, because they know for a fact that I rather hire someone from campus than I hire someone with 0 to 2 years of experience, because the campus resource I can train. And that person has more hunger to get things done, right? And these are trainable resources, right? So why not do that?
Totally makes sense. So with that said, I'll come to the next question.
Yeah.
This is specifically focused on the virtual hiring process. Now
Yeah.
that majority of the hiring, interview, and the onboarding processes have moved virtual, how do you think the students have to adapt? And if you can also speak a little, touch upon a little about the hiring process virtually at Informatica, that is what they're looking at, they're expecting as a question.
Okay, so the first question is on what is required from a student to prepare.
Yes.
Okay, so for a student to prepare, it's very simple. Know your first know your project pretty well, because that's what you would be grilled upon. Know the technology which you've been working upon. There are websites. Let's take an example. A big company comes, you should know for a fact that what's the core of the technology which the company works upon, right? What's the added advantage you have with the person sitting next to you on the core technology which you come from. So work upon first, customize yourself to the company which is coming in. I know sometimes you're not given time, but then there are enough tech sites which will give you CodeShare, few other sites, I'm forgetting the names, which talk about the core technology which the company works upon. So read up upon that. Secondly is get used to the fact of getting a two-way interview done virtually, right? We've always got into a phase where it's one way, right? I'm getting interviewed, the other person's camera is off. Now it is both ways, right? You are also trying to see the reaction of the other person on the other side, and the other person is also trying to evaluate you. So understand to get how to get interviewed very fast. And one thing for sure, and communication skills does play an important part, which is very, very important when any student gets interviewed. It's how you are able to articulate, present the work which you've done. So there's nothing outside what this person will ask you. Maximum he can ask you to do share screen and do some coding, as good or as bad as that. But then that's one direction a lot of companies are going. The other direction the companies are going are hackathons, which all of you are aware of, but they're also trying to look at assessment through gaming. I think Spymetrics or some of the other tools, companies which do gaming as a technology to assess people. But my recommendation is understand what the company goes through to assess you as individual. So bring out the best, but then prepare. You need to keep preparing, keep preparing. That's how you get well trained for as an individual, right?
Got it. So you've touched upon the importance of communication skills and to customize your preparation specifically for the company's technology stack. Say if it could be Java, it could be something like a JavaScript, Angular, and all that, right?
Yep.
So if you look at it, there is a wide variety of skills as such. So if we have to break it down into basics, say about, okay, if you know, say this A, B, and C language, you're good to go. Is there some sort of a skill
So,
metrics that we could use? Because otherwise, if you look at it, every single day a new language comes up and the new update
yeah,
is coming up. So what can the students do at that?
yeah, so yeah, so the catchy word is AIML. So you ask anybody and everybody is presenting on that. But that's only, if you look at countries, Israel and some of the other countries do more work on that area than India. But it's a catchy word, and everybody, if you ask everybody, they will do a course on that. See what is relevant. Remember, you need core technology to still get work done, right? It's the attitude which you bring to the table. It's your ability to solution the problem when you get interviewed, right? A lot of time depends. Let's take an example. If a person is getting interviewed for a tech support role, right? Let's take an example on core technology. This person will do the initial round of debugging with the client, right? They're looking at your ability not to give up. Now the interviewer might ask you a very simple problem, but he's looking at your ability not to give up but keep on solutioning it, right? Because that's the environment you will be working upon. So try and understand the reasoning behind the question, right? While I completely agree, there are only limited technologies which all of you can work upon, right? But if you look at, then you have .NET, right? You also have company which will work on large services company work on all technologies, right? Tomorrow a large company comes, you don't know what you will land up, right? I've worked in few large companies. When you hire and after the person gets after a greenfield project, you don't know what technology this person will be working upon. But be very clear on the work which you do, understand the project which you've been working upon, and then bring a solutioning mindset, right, to the skills which I refer to, right? Ability to not to give up and say, I don't know this. It is okay to come up and say, hey, I don't know this, but let me solution it from a different angle. That's what everybody is looking at. Nobody's looking at, you being an expert, right? You're just fresh out of the college, right? There are limited questions which you can ask, but understand one, the role which you've been offered, understand what the company comes about, read about it. There are sites like Glassdoor, a few others will give you a sense of, which direction the organization is, what's the tech stack of the company, then go in that direction.
Got it. So if we have to bare minimum, say if a student picks up one language and then is able to understand how the programming works in one specific language, no matter what it could be Java, it could be Python, it could be .NET. Would that work, or do you still expect them to know at least about 2 to 3 languages? I'm just with reference to specifically knowing the programming basics.
No, so predominantly Java is preferential from a language perspective, but then who's to say that you get interviewed for this and you will end up doing that from a tech stack standpoint, because that's a base for a lot of other work, right? You build upon that, right, from a tech stack point of view, but build upon one area. When you get interviewed, you will be questioned on that area. That does not mean a person who's coming on .NET will not understand from a core. If supposing I'm a tech arc, right, I'm coming to interview you, right, but you predominantly focused only on Java, and I'm a guy who's predominantly worked on .NET. I am trying to see your reasoning, your ability to solution, right? So it's not the technology to some extent. It's about how you bring it to the table. How do you solution? What have you done additionally? What's the live project? What have you done in addition to your course? So he's also trying to see your bent of mind. Going too much is also a problem, right? You land up doing you're jack of all trades, but then you can't solution one, right? So they're trying to look at that, because skills, technologies are trainable. You will be trained after your graduation, right? On technology, you are taking like a blank paper, right? But that's the difference between a bond paper and the other paper, right? So you want to be the bond paper which everybody wants to use. So as simple as that.
Perfect. That totally sets the context here for sure. As freshers, you're expected to be that bond paper, ready to be molded into whatever technology or a stack that the organization is looking for. That totally makes sense. One of the questions, or there are actually multiple questions in
Yeah.
terms of the upcoming career season, not the current batch of 2020,
Yeah, next year.
but the 2021 batch, right? So, what kind of changes do you see there for the 2021 batch? And in terms of the skills you've already covered, in terms of hiring process or when the hiring would start, timelines around that. On an overview, if you could give a specificity with respect to the industry, that would also be helpful.
Okay, so basically, if you look at the next 2021 batch, right? For them, let's be very clear. The current situation is temporary, okay, while this is my understanding, the industry is still trying to move. We are still trying to get our IT infrastructure right. Right. Let's be very honest, right? What is required from the colleges is nothing much but making sure that the student is taught their courses well, and they understand the technology. So try and push them more into live projects. Okay, my recommendation is that even if it's pro bono, I know it's a very difficult. It's very difficult for anybody to say, hey, work for free, but the experience will help you. So try and here's a simple recommendation, right? As we speaking, I was thinking about it. So speak to your alumni. Supposing I am one of the college, right? I am the placement officer. Go and speak to any of your alumni and say, hey, I have 4 students. Can you look at mentoring them? This is the core technology. Can you give them projects? You don't need to give them certification or anything. Give them work to work upon. And this experience will help them when they sit for an interview, right? So from alumni, try and get these kids mentored on technology so that they know what is happening. Companies, worst come to worst basis, will have more virtual interviews. So prepare for that. That's what I spoke about. Companies are trending towards hiring a lot of guys directly through hackathons, which we've seen some trend. Some companies are doing that. But if you look at large scale companies, they would still want to go to the, do a virtual with the campus. So make sure that the students are trained on how to pass these interviews, right? Do a lot of actual work, right, on these core technologies, because a lot of the problems they will have to land up solutioning it. Solutioning only comes when you have some amount of live projects. So work with mentors, do some work pro bono. Some companies will say no, some companies will say yes, some mentors will say yes. If I'm an alumni of a college, why will I not help I will take 5 people under me and say, hey, once a week, let's connect. And, this experience will help the companies. I feel the direction which you said the industry is moving from a tech to the next year is, one is virtual being, industry being far more, far more virtual, and they'll have to, look at upskilling, look at some of the skills they would need to work upon. Say if I say I'm going to focus on Java, then I would need to maybe try and learn about the scripting side, both sides, right? Look at working on some of the core technologies, look at projects, you have enough online content there for you to learn, right? And develop accordingly. But honestly, don't have a magic this thing right now, but don't expect, I don't expect a Herculean change the way the industry will move in the next year. As I said, it's a matter of anybody solutioning it at an angle which is very fast, right? So
got it. No, totally. The scenario is, as you mentioned very clearly, it's a temporary kind of a hiccup between the organization and the candidates. So we at least from the CII's end, we don't see that persisting beyond, say, November or December, because once the vaccine comes, things are back to normal. That's our expectation from the whole industry segment as such. One more important point over the last few discussions that we have had is in terms of upskilling. There was one specific topic that some of the HRs have also spoken about is to enable the students to pick up projects in case they are not able to get it from outside, to set up incubation centers as one of the verticals and drive internal innovation. So what are your thoughts on this particular thing, Mr. Aditya?
So, okay, let me tell it very plainly. And I know I've been to a lot of colleges. They already have incubation centers. While, I'm more of a recruiting guy. Let me put it the right angle, and I will not mince my words. I would recommend work with the industry outside. While I know that you will give them projects, the projects require funding. That's how it happens. And let's be very simple. Unless until if you're solutioning something which will help the government, that's nothing like it. I'm being very honest. So solution something which will solve a problem, right? But my recommendation when it comes to incubation, very good. I feel a lot of the students needs to work in that angle, but have mentors assigned to it. Have external mentors to look at those. You work with some of those companies, have people, if you work with a larger company, have 2-3 SMEs in that area, mentor those incubation centers. Tell them, we don't need your money, we don't need anything. We just want you to have a look and say, is this the right direction which we are moving in? Because remember, it's not about saying that in the CV, it's saying about, hey, I was part of incubation. What have you learned? Sometimes they say, hey, should I do these 5 certificates? No, it is not about certification, right? We need to mentally get out of that, of saying that, how have I learned and how will I use this skill in a longevity standpoint? I feel that's very, very important. Incubation, excellent. See how do you marry it with getting some corporates or getting some alumni, getting some people to help you drive it. Say, hey, I just need 1 hour of your time to look at the project. These kids will present. I'm telling you, even 5% inputs really help, right? So.
No, totally. So one of the discussions that we earlier also had was with an MSME founder who had spoken specifically about how industry and colleges could collaborate on coming up with new innovations. On this point, one of the things that you specifically spoke about was certificates and running behind certificates. We have seen a lot of students, they attend say a 1-day boot camp or a 1-hour boot camp, and in return they expect to get a certificate, and they see that certificate to be of massive value. So what are your thoughts on how should students stop thinking about certificates, but more about how can they apply their skills?
So I'm a big fan of, still am, Steve Jobs, right? He did a course on caricature, right? And if you see your digits on iPhone, they developed from there, right? So remember, it's not about certification. How do you use that knowledge which is relevant anywhere else to where you are able to deliver it, right? Certification, okay, but what have you done, right? I'm being very honest. So when we interview a lot of lateral folks, a lot of them say, hey, I'm working on this core technology. What were you doing? I was assisting. No, oh, actually I was backfilling for one person. So remember, if you put it, you will get grilled on those areas of saying that, what have you done? What was your contribution? So get into something which will help you, where you contribute, right? Don't do it for the sake of, certifications, right? It's purely my input.
No, totally. So we have seen that from CII's end, when we organize a boot camp with an industry expert, most students ask for certificates. Like, are we getting a certificate? Only then we will attend. So that kind of a notion has already been built in, saying that some of us, at least during my college times, I've seen students coming in with a huge file with loads of certificates. Not that.
I'll tell you, there's also a rider to it, because you're missing a class. Your professor might have told you that, hey, you better get a certificate out of that. I'll not mark your attendance. I'm being very, it's a trivial thing.
Totally.
Riders to the kids today, right? They should get into some of these, webinars and listen, right? Like the webinar which we're having, right? This is, they need to listen, understand, take the best and use it.
Correct. Totally. Very well put. I think that this has not been covered as such in any of these webinars till date, especially about certification. So coming to another quick question. This is with respect to, okay. So one of the most, I would say, a kind of a fear that is there with most students and the colleges is that we are expecting that by the time next year comes, there might be pay cuts for the new hires, or it could be like every single industry would start cutting down on salaries. Do you see that trend to come up actually? Because we have not heard about it as such. We have only heard about it in startups where they did not have funding, or they were lost track in terms of funding. But as an enterprise yourself, do you see that as a trend actually coming up?
See, so a lot of companies, the problem is we extrapolate very extensively, specifically when it comes to India, right? We will make it huge. Uh, yes, I understand the insecurity which people have. There are companies which are laying off. Let's be very honest. But we need to understand why some of those are laying off. Look at the industry they belong to. You will understand some of the questions and answers to that, right? And also then the problem, a lot of companies lay off, they also lay off below performers. It just gets extrapolated, right? So we need to understand that companies, let's take an example. If I'm supposed to hire a software engineer, the cost to hire a software engineer is X. I rather hire an intern because both will do similar work, right? A lot of companies, and you saw the reports few days, I think three large companies that they said they will hire a lot of folks, right? Have come back with saying that they will hire X number of folks, and reply back by saying that we will not hire 0 to 3 years of experience. We will utilize that because the cost to replace and also make sure that the kids are more hungrier than the people sitting there. That's what I try and tell a lot of folks, right? You need to make sure that, and also to all the students, it's not the placements officers prerogative to get them placed. It's their own career. I think somewhere down the line they always think it's a college this thing. No, it is not. You are sitting in a situation, and you are very lucky to sit in a situation where you can reach out to folks directly outside industry and say, hey, this is what I'm working upon. You can cross pollinate. So this is a good opportunity for people to see what they can land up doing. This is also a good opportunity for some of them to turn entrepreneurs, right? You talked about incubation centers, right? How many of them actually turn around and say, hey, for the next 1 or 2 years, I'm very passionate about this. I think this can come out to be a big success. These are all great opportunities, right? I still look at glass half full and fill. People can come around and tell me, yes, the industry is back. It is, but then, sometimes you might just land up taking a job. We might be looking a full-time job, but you might just have to take a contracting job. But if you're good, you'll come out of it much more faster.
Beautiful. Totally. I totally agree. So now, especially with LinkedIn and a few of these networking platforms available, it's easy to reach out to industry folks and get their insights. Not just being dependent on college is the way to go forward for sure. Okay. From quite a few times, Mr. Sumitro has been raising his hands. I'll just unmute him so that he can ask his question.
Sure.
Mr. Sumitro, if you're there, can you unmute yourself and ask the question that you have? Mr. Sumitro? I think he's not been able to unmute. Perfect.
Or maybe you can ping the question. Or...
Sure, we'll just wait for another minute. I think that's it in terms of questions. There is again a question in terms of when will be the hiring process starting in North India campuses by an anonymous attendee. They've been anonymous. So
yeah, good question. I can only say that it really depends on which college you belong to, right? Now every college has a different point of view. I think so people will wait for this quarter. I'm being very honest, to see what's the direction the industry will try and move. Because this quarter has been a complete lockdown quarter. So you get a sense of which direction which the companies will move at. Then the companies need to think, how do they, one, do the assessment, how do they onboard virtually, right, and see which is the best asset for them as an organization. How do they manage do they get the students to their cities, or do they work virtually, right? So a lot of companies will go through their own numbers. A lot of companies are re-looking at their own projections, right, on what are the numbers they would want to hire, right? So companies are in the multiple phase right now of deciding, which direction they would want to move in. So, but yeah, the sooner the better.
Perfect. I think we are almost done with the questions. We will just wait for another quick 1 or 2 minutes, and then we will take it up. Just a 1 or 2 minutes. We will just quickly wait.
So meanwhile, Yosh, I just had, I was just scribbling down parallelly. I had, inputs back at least to the students, right?
Mm-hmm.
One input, a couple of inputs is one is, learn to live in a virtual world, because that's the way in due course of time it will be. Step out of your comfort zone. What you were programmed to do will not always happen. So please be ready for any situation. If I would have asked you last year, we would be in this situation. You said no, we rather be physically doing it this session, right? So have a, as I said, multi-channel approach, not only looking at what companies can pay you, but as I spoke about pro bono work, right? It's very important. Sometimes you need to just seek income, not a job, right? Be in that mindset, right? Sometimes you just need to survive, do it. It'll also be a big learning. Build relationship, build new skills at this period of time. I feel that. Prepare for interviews. I always tell people, and I've seen it when I interview a lot of these students, they are jittery. And I tell them, hey, this is not a life threatening situation, right? So sometimes the panel may not do that, right? So get prepared, right? Have somebody industry take some interviews, have your alumni, have people whom you have not seen, let them take interview, because if your professor is doing it, it's a known face, right? It's good to get interviewed by an unknown face, right? Uh, Look at the direction of industry which is growing. We have a couple of industries, right, which are somewhat in the growth phase, right? Move in that, upskill in the technology you want to learn, and last but not the least, stay positive. I think that's we will get out of it, and I'm sure next time when we do the session, we'll do it face to face.
Beautiful. Looking forward to that. So some of you have been asking the contact details of Mr. Aditya. So one of the easiest ways to reach out to him is over LinkedIn. At the end of the session, what I'll try to do is I'll try to share his LinkedIn email, LinkedIn ID to all of you for you to be able to reach out to him.
Sure.
I hope that works.
Yeah.
Perfect. Primarily, we have covered most of the questions with respect to skilling and the hiring trends, and how can colleges prepare themselves for the upcoming career season as such. On behalf of CII and YI, I would like to thank you, Mr. Aditya, for taking your time off on a working day and doing this for us. I'm just seeing if there are any other questions, but most of them are only thanking you for the beautiful session that you have handled today.
It was a pleasure. Again, I wish when I was studying, I had some inputs back, but happy to give at least be in a situation where I can share my inputs back. At least this is a situation where I can do that. And to all the placement officers, the head of technologies, head of deans, and everybody, I think so. Remember, it's not all about placements, it's about how you train your kids. Somewhere down the line you'll have to bite the bullet, but go ahead. I think so. We are all in support of whatever decision you guys take. So thank you very much for having me, Yogesh.
Thank you, Mr. Aditya. With that, we will end the session. I'm just quickly going to be sharing the LinkedIn ID of Mr. Aditya on the chat window. I'll just take 5 seconds for that.
Sure.
In the meanwhile, on behalf of Confederation of Indian Industries and Young Indians Bengaluru, I thank every single attendee who's been part of these sessions constantly, and then asking a lot of questions to understand and gauge what's the scenario and how they could prepare themselves for it. I hope all of you found it useful. We wish to do a lot more sessions as we move forward. At the end of the day, it's all about enabling and helping students become employable and get employed. That's primarily our intention of doing this too. If there is anything at any point of time, please feel free to reach out to us. We are always there. I've just put in the LinkedIn IDs of Mr. Aditya. I'll just give you a quick 10 to 15 seconds to make a note of it. Perfect. And Aditya, thanks a lot. So it was like a really enlightening session. After a long time, I've been taking notes all through the session. So there are good amount of pointers. One more thing, what we will also do is we will try to summarize this or probably share the recording so that the students can also watch it. So since this session has been primarily for the college authorities, the points that you've spoken towards the end, I think are very important for the students also to be ready and be aware of, because they are the ones at the end of the day are going to be sitting in for the interviews or discussing with the HRs.
Yeah,
So,
it makes sense.
totally.
You should put it up on LinkedIn, at least accessible for everybody. So
Sure. We'll
thank you.
surely do that. Thanks a lot, everyone. Have a great evening then.
Thank
Take care. Bye-bye.
you.